All right, everyone. Big hey now to you guys out there. Happy Sunday. Happy Monday. Happy Sunday and happy Monday. Well, this will be a quick one. We're just going to go over the numbers just to show where HEX is at today with the T-Share rate. This is T-Share report number 101. How about that? To kick it off, I just wanted to bring attention to something called the golden ratio multiplier, the GRM, which is something that is on a long time frame. It's on the 350-day kind of a time frame, and based on that and comparing it to the 111-day moving average, there are natural cross points. Sometimes people call them crosses, death crosses, golden crosses, yada, 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 right? Well, in any case, based on this information, when we hit certain points, the indicator throws what we call buy signals. And you can look at the screen here. Most recently, we've had 2 buy signals in the last week or two. Doesn't mean the price is only going up. What it's doing is it's saying, hey, listen, it looks like the bottom's in or almost in, and that all of these, anytime after we get a buy signal, it's probably a good time to accumulate a particular asset. We can look back into July of 24, and you can see we had two right in a row, one in June of 24, and then another in July of 24, followed by a bump up. Afterwards, we saw 3 more show up, August of 24, boom, 2 of them in August, and then a third in September, and then a nice giant rise. Will that happen again? Oh, no, we don't know for sure, but I mean, it at some point, markets do cycle based on behavior, and there are traders out there that use a lot of these indicators, and they use them to pick likely reversal ranges and when the time might be to get in and then scalp a trade. It could also be an indicator of a reversal of fortune, so to speak, in the system. Oh, here we go. All right, so just watching this, I'll be keeping an eye out for it for more to see what may happen. It's pretty bullish in my opinion. Taking a look at our chat, let's see what we have here. Oh boy, we got the 404 Mon. Hey, 404 Mon, good to see you out there. Greetings, everyone. Hope you're having a great weekend. I think so too. I hope so too. Beached Whale was asking a question about the Validator X protocol. If you get a chance, go back and take a look at my my stream on that. About a 20-30 minute stream, and you can go ahead and track the conversion rate of your UPulse if you're interested in that, if you're participating in that. They have a lot of good information. Maybe someday I'll build a calc for it, but right now, or a calculator for it, right now what I would just recommend is you keep track of how much you put in and when you put it in, meaning how much pulse, and then what the current value is. You can subtract, divide, come up with your ROI, and multiply, divide that out by the number of days and that you've been in, and then multiply that out by 365 and come up with your APR. Yeah, their front end, and the Beach Whale's asking another question about that. Their slide bars and stuff, they got some work. They're working on that front end. So we'll move off this subject so we don't derail too much as well. Ukon, woo, crispy. Russ, good to see you. And did you know that I click buttons? So I love clicking buttons. Apparently, my button finger hurts. I click buttons. Much love back out to you. A coin critic, yeah, dude, man, I'm so insulated. I imagine a lot of people are now. Unless I'm out searching for the news, man, I don't even know what the hell's going on. But I have been seeing more and more unrest out there. So I've been seeing that. But we're going to focus today on the T-shares. And Yaveen's saying, yeah, get your T-shirts. Get your T-shirts. And anybody who's out in the LA area, stay safe. Be smart, obviously. or any area. All right, let's take a look and see what our current rates are out there. So reported by HEX Daily Stats on the Ethereum side, 41,771 HEX per T-Share. Very few penalties, maybe a little bit less than 1 million penalties, with a payout per T-Share of 1.551. On the Pulse Chain side, we got 41,443, so close to being the same. A little bit lower in penalties, 208,000. We do see an average that runs up north of 4 million, 5 million a day, sometimes for penalties. But they, they just seep in there. No large capitulations that I've observed or seen. Just, more people doing what they do. Sometimes they get out early, and sometimes they end late, and that creates these penalties. Let's go take a look. What are we looking at for volumes? Track volume at the moment. Track volume today has been really low, almost 40% down than normal. So I'm just refreshing real quick so I can take a look and see what it shows right at the moment. It's the volume on chain is down in my opinion, about 50% from where I think the norm is. And we can see the likely pairs that should be that are running, and the same ones have been running lately, right? Pulse to EDI, EWETH to Ethereum from Ethereum, wrapped Ethereum from Ethereum versus Pulse. PulseX versus Pulse is the greatest volumes that we're seeing. EUSDC versus Pulse, and of course that PDI, can't get rid of that PDI right up there in the top 5. Can't get rid of the PDI. It keeps coming out. Moving over to T-Shares. Let's go ahead and take a look at this and where we're at. For the 30-day, a lot of this stuff feels kind of like it's very repetitive because it is. It only moves so slowly. It only moves at the rate that it goes up. And, it's very consistent. I think that's one of the things we can say we've proven with the data, with the access to the data, that HEX does what it does. The T-share rate goes up to the right. What we do with price and demand, supply and demand, that's on us. It's on the whales and the squids and everybody in between, above, below, right? What we do and how it's all connected to the Pulse chain, that affects price. But as far as how HEX operates, it just does what it does. So we're still looking at something around that 42 range, 42,000 HEX per T-share range, out 30 days from now on the Ethereum side. 41 and 0.68, 41,680 on the Pulse chain side. We'll just see these slowly going up. There's always going to be a discrepancy between the two because the staking activity on the two chains is different. A little bit higher APR on the Ethereum side, and because we have a little bit higher APR, it generates just a little bit higher T-share rate. Going out 60 days, we should clearly be over the 42,000 mark on both chains. And again, any flat spots you see, they'll be filled in by short stakers once we get there. And so it'll never look this flat again. Going out to the 90-day look ahead, we will be creeping up almost to 43 at 42,750 for Ethereum, and 42,380 on the Pulse chain side. 120 looks a little bit bigger. We'll start seeing a little bit higher rises here, where both of them should be right about 43 or in change. Maybe we'll see the Pulse chain actually hit 43 120 days out. End of year, numbers still looking pretty similar, 45,000 on both chains. When we go out to 26, we're looking still almost at that 50, just shy of 50,000, and then 27 and to 27, somewhere around 54,000 on both chains. And again, going through these week over week, these 100 different times that we've done it and more, it's just showing that the contract continues to operate as designed. That's all. So I know I get a little excited about it. I do try to pick, when I'm doing a ladder, I might try to pick obvious entry and exit days, kind of keep track of when lots of HEX is coming out, but I'm not doing a whole lot, right? I'm just really at this point setting my ladder and leaving it. We're still looking out 15 years, somewhere around that 80K range. It'll be a long time before we get there. We'll be able to see what it actually comes up to, and maybe the variance will be anywhere from 70 to 80 thousand HEX per T-share. What we can clearly see, though, is that the APRs are way down. We know that this is the case. I did another stream on that last week, and you get a chance to go look on the channel. You'll see that, and we'll go over what the current rates are. I'm going to try to hit that here in this stream on an ongoing basis as well. We'll look at our drawdowns, which again, to remind everybody, what do I mean by drawdown? Drawdown is how many T-shares are being recreated after one has been ended. And over the last month, roughly the last month on the Ethereum side, we lose about half the T-shares. We lose about half. So 100 end, only 50 new ones are created. That's going to exacerbate the payout situation, meaning the payouts will go up a little bit faster. But, the OA, stabilized the system so hard with all those stakes that even if it is a little bit higher, it is meaningful, but it's really hard to see. It's really hard to see because most of us really don't see much of a difference between, 1.1, 1.5 HEX per T-share and 1.51 or 5.2, So it's such a small, tiny number. Visually it's hard for us to kind of represent that. We look at the payouts and see what that's going to look at here in a moment. But on Pulse Chain side, we are seeing some restaking. It's not for Quattro, but we are seeing the shorter stakes getting restaked over the last month. Only losing about 30%. Only losing about 30%. Looking into the next month, using those numbers, still expecting to lose about 100,000 T-shares on the Ethereum side at 98,148, and on the Pulse Chain side, losing maybe another 88,000 or so. Always subject to what we do as users, right? We go look at the counts, we can see that on these time frames, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the number of T-shirts is coming down. It just has to. There's no way for it to not come down. So when I look at May 1st through, well, this says 2040, but to the current date, you could just see, Pulse Chain up here, bloop, 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 just coming down slowly, 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 slowly. That's expected. That's the effect that we expect to see from T-shares becoming more scarce and deflationary. You see on the Ethereum side something similar. Really not a lot to see when we're looking at this very short number, or the short time frame, other than the fact that, hey, it's come down and it continues to come down. And so again, boil the frog territory, because a lot of people, right, we just not going to be thinking a lot about this. If we go to give you an idea of what this looked like in the past, let's go to 1/1/2021, right? So we can see this line's almost flat here. And then let's go to 1/1/2025, 1/1/2025. And you see it. So this is what it looked like over like a 4-year period, 3-4-year period, right? Just slowly, slowly, slowly coming down. Looks a little more extreme here, because I did the short time frame and the way I have the chart set up, but this is what I would expect to see, something similar. It'll look, this is from launch, in May of 23. I would expect that the two chains are going to do something like this over time. And so we'll just see fewer and fewer T-shares, which means, of course, that the payout will go up. And that means you will have slowly rising APRs. This is our chart of T-shares versus payout. And even though the T-shares should drop down over time, we still don't know what the OA will do. But just assuming they don't restake, and until we see them restake, you'll just see these stakes just end, and kind of like those T-shares will go away until we get to some sort of low number in the future. The whole time that the payouts will be going up and to the right. And if we isolate out the payout per T-share, these are just guesses, but you can just see the rate just on a very slow incline, bloop, 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 all the way up to doubling out here in 2040 again. And then, of course, there will be a cliff at the end. I mean, there's always a cliff at the end because it'll actually be a reverse cliff because if the T-shares fall off, we'll just suddenly see the payouts go way up per T-share. There's my dog barking again. Hold on one second. Taking a look here at the average, lengths that are being created right now, can't see that we're seeing a little bit of rise. On both the Ethereum side and the Pulse chain this month, with the average number of years being 3.5 years for new stakes that have been created, and 3.2 years for the Pulse chain side. So up just a little bit, just a smidge. Going up a little bit, and it may vary a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see. I think if more people get interested in staking, we see those flatten out. Maybe it even goes up a little bit, but maybe not. There's something to be said for the short staking as well. And if that's just people's strategy, and they're going to do that, those numbers will be low. And then the overall average stake length still sitting around that 9 level on both chains, 9.1, 9 years. And of course, that's measuring all stakes that are out there. I thought I would flash you guys this information this week. Let's take a look at the CD comparison chart. And but this is really just showing the amount of APR that people are receiving for staking right now. And this is why I think there is an opportunity, because this pretty much jumps out as to most people as, hey, I'm not really interested, right? Creates a little bit of FUD. I mean, you go in for 30 days, you might earn an APR 1.36, but that's a very low ROI. It's almost cost more in gas, almost, depending on your size, than the amount of HEX that you can get. You go out a year looking at something like 1.6%, a 2-year stake, 1.87%. It might be a little higher with penalties, 3 years, 2.14%, 4 years, 2.41%, 5 years, 2.68%. So clearly no longer in the range of double-digit returns, right? So that's not happening. What we can do is let's look at our APY comparison between the two, and let's just focus. We'll focus on the Pulse chain, right? So we'll look at Pulse chain. Again, these are just numbers based on what I'm seeing on the system today and what the full ladder looks like, and so it doesn't include projections of additional yield and whatnot at this time. It's just looking at the average over the last couple of days, what we're getting for payouts. But it's running something like anywhere from 4 to 5%. When I did with the extended stream last week with the 2025 staking, it was a little higher because I'm measuring over the entire time, including the increase in T-shares, or excuse me, the decrease in T-shares, but the increase in payout per T-shares, and annualizing it. But yeah, I mean, these are definitely in a whole different realm of percentages, right? Now, I think they're competitive with treasuries. I think they're competitive with CDs themselves. But clearly, the reason I would be interested in staking is to corner as much of the market on HEX as I can through earning it. And then, really speculating on some extreme price appreciation. Now, the traders out there will argue, hey, listen, you don't need to stake to do that. You just keep, you sell some at the high and then wait to the bottom and buy, right? And to date, they haven't been wrong. So, but that doesn't mean it'll always be that way. So, as you know, I kind of lean towards staking rather than trading. Just seems that works out best for me. So yeah, not a lot of new information this week. in terms of the T-share rates and what's happening with staking. I mean, still looking like people are fading the staking, and with good reason, right? I mean, you can understand why. Biggest news I have is the fact that the GRM, the golden ratio multiplier, oh, I should pay for that, is kicking out these buy signals, and the fact that we may have some more. Right, so that's the most exciting stuff that I've seen. And with that, we're just about 21 minutes in. Let's take a look, see what we have for questions, see if there's anything I should answer. Yeah. HEX to Mars, this is always a good point. $1 is only 30x away, and now it feels like it's so much further. Okie dokie loves the charts. I've seen that before. Sol, good to see you, man. Yep, the data does at least give us some facts, right? I can eliminate the FOMO and the FUD, at least in my head, specifically about certain things. So Ukan saying, a bit of time has gone by since the OA stake. Could you elaborate what you meant by OA protecting HEX or bracing for something? Even before the OA did the super stakes, right, and created this entire ladder, OA owned a substantial amount of HEX, and that being the case, because it controlled so much, what was in the control of the users was less, right? And so it acts as a huge stabilizing force, because people can't come in with size, and because they don't have the size. Right, there's only a few players out there. We've seen them. We've seen some big players, but there's only a few players that can really move the charts in the downward direction, right? And they get fewer and fewer all the time when they get rid of their HEX. Now, in the terms of the staking itself, right? The nature of the OA staking and owning like 90%, of the T-shares. I don't know if this is exact calculation. But by owning so many of the T-shares, right, what does it matter if somebody, merges the end stakes, 1,000 T-shares? It's such a small number. And even if they do, the penalties that people would celebrate and be excited about, 90% of that goes back to the OA because it's the penalty portion, as well as they own all these T-shares, so they get the penalties. And plus, if let's say there is somebody who decided they're going to nuke giant bags of stakes that they have, like what we look at for 29 and 30, the stakes that are scheduled to come out in 2029 and 30. Well, they can't really hurt the system. I mean, sure, it would put sell pressure for sure, because some people, particularly people who ended, would have HEX they didn't have before that they could throw on the market and drive the price down. But by and large, the vast majority of that all goes to the OA. They only get a small little bit, like 5, 10, 20%, depends on the stake. And all the rest of it gets generated up as penalties. Half go to the OA right away, and then the rest gets distributed over the next 15 years. So yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting after that. And so what it means is you just can't have new players or even existing players come in and hurt the system as far as how it pays rewards and yield. And it even limits what can happen with prices. But granted, again, it's crypto, it's DeFi. So if all of us are buying, price goes up. If all of us are selling, price goes down. That's just how it works. DJ Cryptomatic, I see them out there. All right, Beach Wheels, HEX is bound to move simply looking at the minor rates. Yeah. I think so, but we'll see how things get proven out over time, exactly what all these effects are. Looking at J.A. Soul, 99 cents super sticker. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Russ, I'm not sure what a reverse cliff is, but I was trying to get at the point that payouts would, if you looked at the T-shirt count falling off a cliff, in Cuatro Cinco, well, the reverse will be true with payouts, right? So whatever that is, I don't know, Phoenix Rise or something, I don't know. Pip Shinobi, I see you out there. Let's see, you got a question. With HEX being a long-term play and PTGC paying us every transaction, is currently anything better than those two combined? Well, probably some other combinations. But yeah, I mean, the sunk liquidity with PTGC is pretty useful, and the idea that it's tied together with the cores. Let's go look and see how that might affect HEX, so we can see what happens with that. So if I go to my HEX pairs, let's just see what we got for US PTGC. So we'll look at that one first and see. So, you know, guys, this is pretty formidable. I mean, listen, in the HEX universe, you know, 400K in liquidity is in the medium-sized range. But for the rest of us trying to support tokens and whatnot, ain't chicken feed, man. So today, at today's prices, PTGC has got 466K directly with HEX, and then another, it looks like another 60K V1, V2 with EHEX. So wherever HEX goes, PTGC is following, and to some extent, wherever PTGC goes, HEX will be following. And of course, PTGC and UFO are tied to a lot of the cores, not to mention a lot of other protocols. UFO has almost $1 million, right, in UFO HEX on V2, and then EHEX about 500,000. So pretty substantial. So in terms of what the effects will be, you know, we'll see. Now, everybody's going to make their own decisions about what they're in or not. And of course, in the HEX universe, I'm speaking about HEX, but it will affect it for sure. It will affect it. But, all right, my friends. Let's just see. All right. I don't see anything else to go after. Again, hey, Saul, that was nice of you to send that little super sticker. I appreciate it. I appreciate that very much. I don't see any further questions to really kind of address out here. But yeah, I hope this finds you well. You guys have a great rest of the weekend and a bang-up week. I'll be looking forward to some stuff happening for sure. And then you guys stay crispy.